The FEMA did a whole engineering study of buildings in New Mexico a few years ago that were alternative methods of construction because they think there are going to be more earthquakes in the future. And they put an Earthship on the cover. It was a big 1-inch thick document that they came up with, and their statements were that an Earthship is probably one of the better forms of building to resist earthquakes. So the answer to that question is yes, they are more resistant to natural disasters than most forms of building. If you are in Tornado Alley or an area that is prone to natural disaster of some type, we would certainly tune it to even be more so. But as for your general subdivision home, there's no comparison. So back to the approach now. So what we've done is kind of rationalize the situation and set the stage for getting started, and then say, okay, here's how you get started. You get started by choosing your land and hoping, and what I was about to say was that if you already have land and you've already purchased it and you don't want to unload it and get that land elsewhere, then yes, you go through the permit process, but still go to your county first and check out the requirements so that before you really invest a whole lot in drawings, designs, and moving on with your project, you at least know if the county is going to be like Pima County or Ventura County, California. Both of those counties, I have to say in my honest opinion, from having an encounter with both of them, and I've got an Earthship in both of them, but it was painful. It was way painful and a ridiculous waste of time given the situation on this planet. And so I would say move. Don't build there. And then until somebody can show me that these counties are turning around and really doing what I would call red carpeting green permits, which they have the ability to do. The county commission, I don't know if county commissions, but I know that mayors and governors, and as well as presidents and prime ministers, have in their arsenal of weapons that they can use politically. They're very skeptical about doing this, but they have what is called an executive order. And we made a law. We fought 4 years for a law. We got it passed, and we're using it now. It's still laborious because it's a law, and it's a new law at that. It was the Sustainable Testing Sites Act, where where you can get a pocket of freedom. It basically creates a pocket of freedom to explore and build and try for carbon zero, knowing that you're going to make a few mistakes or whatever. But we don't have that 4 years now to try to get that through every state legislature. We now need immediate. We need buildings to build every few months. I mean, if you unleash this thing, there would be a green building built every hour on this planet, in this country even. But as it is now, buildings are being held up for 2 years to get permits. So that's the issue. It's not the technology. It's not the people. The people want it. The general public wants green housing. It is the noose around our neck that we have put there ourselves, and the only way out of that noose that I see at this point, and this is after dabbling in it for 40 years, is executive order, whereby a governor can say, this tract of land of 30 acres is hereby, we're making an executive order to fast track permits for this tract of land, because the developer of this land has illustrated that his systems or her systems would be 90% carbon zero, would not be affecting public utilities, would not be affecting the aquifers, would not be affecting CO2, would actually prove to be an advancement of knowledge for the people. We're going to make an executive order. Permits do not prevail or apply to this project, and that's that. It's as simple as that. Then in 4 months, that person can have their project up. And in 4 months, we're starting to learn and live in this thing. And there will be plenty of them around the state, in every state. And yeah, I'm not saying totally go, just going completely nuts here with abandoning codes. I'm not saying that. I'm saying give us some pockets of freedom. So what I'm saying here is, one, there are pockets of freedom to be found that exist, and two, there are legal means to create other pockets of freedom. So this pockets of freedom concept, I'm playing with it at both ends. I'm trying to create it where it doesn't exist, and then I'm trying to find it where it does exist. And in a sense here, that's the only place to build, because otherwise it's too expensive. I can't afford to build in Pima County. I wouldn't even attempt it. I can't afford to build in Ventura County, California. I wouldn't even attempt it. So what I'm saying is go for these pockets of freedom, or else get on board to try and create them. Still, I mean, this executive order is a concept. No governor's used it on this level. They've used executive orders. Schwarzenegger in California just did an executive order. Look it up online, the recent executive orders. He just did an executive order regarding the rising water tables on the coastal lands, and made an executive order that you can't build within this height or whatever. I don't know the exact details of it, but I know Schwarzenegger just did an executive order. I also know that Bill Richardson in New Mexico just did an executive order relative to something green. They do it, but it seems to be a little radical to say, you don't need a building permit here. You know, it's a little too scary. But what you're going to have to do there is, because there have been too many lawsuits, people sue the county because they say the county's responsible. Well, it's time for people to take responsibility for themselves. And I would say an executive order on a certain tract of land or a development would have coming with it a sign-off that says you're traveling at your own risk here. You're not going to sue the government. You're not going to sue the landowner. You're not going to sue anybody. And in fact, if you come to live in this project, you're signing off. You're signing off. I would say that the astronauts, when they go in space, probably have to sign off. You know, that they're not going to sue NASA. You know, those kind of things happen. It's very simple to install the protection. And it's the need for this protection that keeps us from evolving. And that's why the codes are so powerful, is because every time somebody makes a mistake, somebody sues somebody, and somebody else increases the strength of a law and the cost of buildings, and and increases the thickness of the wall you have to drill through to get green housing out there. So this is an avenue to create a pocket of freedom, an immediate pocket of freedom in today's dogma, and then we can go out into the boonies and find them in today's states and in the countries. Every country's got these too. So that's my first step. If you're thinking about doing a green carbon zero home, and there's a lot of information out there, there is your first step. Your first step is where to do it. Select a place that is in fact a pocket of freedom, or find out if you can achieve one on your own. And some counties will, a lot of counties around the country now are professing to be encouraging green development. Is that rhetoric? Find out. Because in many cases, all green washing that is going on today, and there's a lot of it, is rhetoric. There is, the best example of rhetoric that I can bring up is Copenhagen. Copenhagen was rhetoric, I'm sorry to say. So steer clear of rhetoric and go for real pockets of freedom, either in the boonies or in municipal areas. These are the birds that are singing in the background here that live here in the jungle of the Phoenix. Fish just jumped. It's not bad. This is a pocket of freedom, I guess.
How does Europe compare in terms of time? Marzia Narani from Lausanne to, I guess, Switzerland.
Got a question coming in here.
Yeah, somebody from Switzerland is asking, how do you know about how do permits look? How do they compare in Europe compared to the rest of the world?
Europe. The question is, how does Europe compare to the U.S. in terms of permits? I would say it's just as bad, if not worse. We have hacked through in the last decade or more, and gotten, we've gotten demo buildings. I've addressed Scottish Parliament. We got one in Scotland. Then I've fought in the UK. We got one in Brighton, England. In France, we got one through the mayor of the burg, and in Gers, France, and the mayor was able to pull it off. And he had the strength. He had the balls to do it. That's all it takes is a politician who knows about executive order, who can just say, I'm going to do this. I don't care if I get reelected. It's more important than being reelected.